So you're stuck real bad, but don't be sad. Mark is here to help you escape from ALEKS. There's gonna be some yummy pie filling.
Well, hi, everybody. Hi, Mike here. Today, we're going to do a topic on ALEKS that has been giving people heartburn at times. Just when you're starting out the semester, we're talking about converting volume to other units of volume. And there's all sorts of ways to express this. And I've picked out this topic on ALEKS, which has given people heartburn in the past. So let's take a good little read at it here. Estimating the volume in liters of a square prism object. Prism, I don't know. Calculate the volume of liquid in the tank sketched below. Give your answer in liters. Okay, so they want us to convert this box into units of liters. Now, here's the thing I've got to talk to you about, and I know it's going to take a minute or so, but this is going to be something I hope you carry with yourself in your life, is that we should really kind of adapt ourselves a little bit of prejudice here. And I don't mean the bad prejudice, like social prejudice. I mean, let's take a look. 6.2 centimeters, 8.1 centimeters, a little more than 1/10 of a meter. This is not a big tank, all right? This is a small box with some liquid in it. What's 8.1 centimeters? 3 inches? So in my mind, to check myself before I wreck myself, I'm going to make sure that I know that this is not a great number of liters. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if it is a liter. It might be less than a liter. If you look at, think about a 2-liter bottle in the grocery store, and then half of that might be about the same size of this. So then if we're going to convert centimeters times centimeters to meters into liters, we got to kind of think about what are the conversion factors of what a liter is. All right, now here's a couple conversion factors for what a liter is. And unfortunately, you just kind of have to memorize these things. There's 1 liter is 1,000 milliliters, which a milliliter happens to be also the same thing as a centimeter cubed, right? In healthcare, they call it a cubic centimeter, a cc. So if we were to convert this volume, length times width times height, to centimeters cubed, we could easily convert it to liters. The path I really kind of don't want to go, though, is that 1 liter is also a cubic decimeter. Now, the reason I don't want to do that is because I've already got this box's dimensions. 2/3 of it are already in centimeters. So if I were to just convert this to centimeters and then multiply length times width times height, I would get cubic centimeters. I could find out that that's the number of milliliters, and then I could divide by 1,000 or convert from there. Don't think about dividing and adding until you line up your units. You know me, I'm a unit freak. So if I were to convert this to centimeters, we'd be golden. We just multiply 3 numbers and we'd go about life. So let's do that. Let's take the, whatever you want to call this, the width, and let's go ahead, 0.134 meters. Okay, so let's get another, we'll go back and forth here. 1 meter equals 10 to the 2 centimeters, or if you prefer, 10 to the minus 2 meters equals 1 centimeter. Now, if you watch my last video, it's okay if you didn't, but if you watch my last video, you'll know that I like, for purposes of it being soothing to me, I like my ones in the denominator. And therefore, if I go ahead and convert this, I'm going to end up using the conversion factor that is right here. All right. So there's 10 to the 2 centimeters. Okay, cool. So 0.134 times 10 to the 2 centimeters. Now, okay, you kind of got me here. Would it have been easier if I'd have just put 100? Yeah, it would have been. But, since I didn't, if I did 100, it would be 1.34 centimeters. All right. So I said that wrong. 13.4, excuse me. It would be 13.4 centimeters. Okay, cool. Well, let's think about what's going on here. If I were to go and convert this into, so that this would be 10 to the 0, that's 2 powers of 10. If I move the decimal place 2 places, 13.4 times 10 to the 0, well, that's like saying 13.4. So you could use 100 instead of 10 to the 2 in this case. It's not going to be a gigantic deal, but I kind of also want to get you into the rhythm of using scientific notation. So I thought I'd just throw that out there. 13.4 centimeters. And it looks like it's wider than the height and the depth. So let's go throw that in there. 13.4 centimeters. Okay. Now let's just multiply length times width times height, and we'll end up with a volume, but that volume will be in centimeters cubed and not liters. All right. But it's okay. So, volume equals length times width times height. Cool beans. Let's go and do that. Okay. Let's even retain as many significant figures as we can, because you know what you want to do? You want to trim significant figures at the end. So if we're going to have to knock this thing down to 1/100th of a liter, if I trim the digits before, then that's going to be a problem, and I might lose I might have some error assumed because of that. So let's just keep all the digits we can until the end. So 6.2, it doesn't matter what order because it's multiplication. Thank goodness. And then times 13.4 centimeters. Now, got to get out our handy calculator here. And 6.2 times 8.1 times 13.4 is a ton of digits here, but bear with me, 672.948. All right, let's just keep all those digits. Trust me, nothing's gonna go wrong because of this, and that's going to be units of centimeters cubed. 672.948. That is also what a milliliter is. So what do we got? We got 672.948 milliliters, because a centimeter cube and a milliliter is the same thing. So let's go do our conversion factor right up here. We're going to take this bad boy and we are going to use it. So now we know that, and you know what, gang? It turned out it was less than a liter, because I did tend to choose to, I did sort of prejudice myself in a good way that this is a small container. And so I'm not surprised that if I divide by 1,000.672948 liters. Now, what did they want? They want us to round it to the nearest 100th of a liter. Does that seem okay? Yeah, I'll explain why it doesn't seem that okay in just a little bit, but we're going to just follow the rules because we want to get this right 3 times in a row. So 0.67. Now, what do I do with that last digit there? 67. Do I make it 68 or do I do it 6 0.73. Well, they want it to a nearest hundredth of a liter, so 0.67 liters. Why did I round it down? Because the 2948 is less than, if it was 0.675 something. Okay, and actually, you know what? I misspoke earlier. That's going to be our answer, and that's just wonderful. And we go put that in the box, and that'll go right there, and everything's fantastic. Now, why did we have to trim it to the nearest 0.01? They actually kind of knew what they were doing here. If you look at significant figures, it's not really the subject of this problem because they guided us. You got two significant figures times two significant figures times three significant figures. And when you multiply, the rules are you always retain the lowest number of significant figures. So that's why we went and rounded it to 0.01. Personally, I think they could have been a little harder on us and said round it to the appropriate number of significant figures, but they didn't do that. Okay, good. Let's try another one. And then you got to do it 3 times in a row. So, and then we'll put this one to bed and move on to things that are much more nauseating. So, okay, here we go. Let's have Alex show me another. Show another, please. Ooh, okay. A little bit of a different wrinkle on it. Okay, once again, let's just go ahead and use the easy conversion. Okay, 1,000 centimeters cubed is equal to 1,000 milliliters is equal to 1 liter. So what Alex does, it'll just show you a very minor variation of this. And what's the variation here is that it's just a different number. Actually, it's very similar to the last one. We're going to have to go and convert this thing to centimeters. All right. Easier path than to convert all these things to decimeters and then cube that, and it's automatically in liters. Personally, I'd rather just divide by 1,000 when we're done with it. So, okay, 0.114. Oh, and this time they say round it to the nearest 0.1 liters. Let's judge that scientific figure-wise and see if that works. So, okay, and then using our conversion factors, I'm going to go ahead and just go, because we did it in the last one, 1 meter down there. And then, okay, I'll give the powers of 10 a break. 100 centimeters. Okay. So then this would be 11.4 centimeters because we did, and I didn't cross them out in the last example, we did convert out of meters into centimeters, and the retaining units are centimeters. There's our 3 dimensions. Now, if we just multiply them by each other 3 times, we will be golden. So 11.4 centimeters. It doesn't matter what's length, what's width, and what's height. You're going to slap them all together in multiplication world. Anyhow, 6.2 centimeters times 7.9 centimeters equals some number of centimeters cubed. Let's go find out on our calculator. So, and I'm going to retain all the digits, and I'm going to trim it to 1/10 of a liter and see if that's the right way to go. So 11.4 times 6.2 times 7.9 equals, and I know this looks like a mess, but you don't want to trim digits until the very end. 372 centimeters times centimeters times centimeters. I know I didn't do that in the last one. I'm just trying to make a point here that that is centimeters cubed, and that is a unit of volume. Okay, now here's where things are a little kind of squirrely. Okay, that's going to be our milliliters. So we can't forget that that's not what they want. They don't want centimeters cubed here. They want us to divide by 1,000 and get milliliters, or excuse me, liters. So here we go. Let me just type that out again. So that was 558.372 milliliters, same thing as a centimeter cubed, and then divided by 1,000 milliliters is 1 liter. And then what do we get? We get, you could do this on, I could do it in my head, you could do it in your head, 0.558372 liters. Once again, it's another small container, so less than that. And you know what? There's nothing actually that squirrely here. They should, nope, I said it wrong. They want to go down to 0.1 liters. So if I'm going to round this to the nearest tenth of a liter, 0.558 rounds up to 0.6 liters. Now, here's where I have a bit of a beef with that, and I sensed it. I said something was squirrely, and you know me, I don't really have a judgment until I get to the end. I try to compartmentalize my brain by not thinking about the answer until we're done. And so that has one significant figure because the 0 doesn't count. So I find it curious that they asked us to round it to the nearest 0.1 liter and not the nearest 0.01 liters, because if we look at our scientific notation here, you know, or our calculation, I should say, 3 significant figures, 2 significant figures, 2 significant figures. It would have been better had we round this to 0.56 liters. But hey, I'm going to do what they say because the ALEKS answer machine is not a person. It's a robot. And that's what we're going to put in there. We're going to put in there 0.6. And, you know, that's the way it's going to be. And that's the little bit of frayed around the edges you get with ALEKS. They could tell you to, you know, use the proper number of significant figures because this is an early module. Maybe they don't want to harp on that because there's other modules that are doing that. So they just said, hey, round it to 0.1 because we want to give you some variety or something like that. But the better thing to do would be to 0.01. But never mind. Put it in the box. Do what it says. March along. Do it 3 times. Let it be over with in your life. Go walk the dog. Have a soda. You know, whatever number of liters it might be. That's it for this one. Let me know in the comments if they have something that's really bothering you, and I will try to do a video on that topic. But otherwise, I will see you next time. Toodles and bye.